Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Michelle here from happyhealthyher.com. And this week's Compassionate Chat is on a topic that has really troubled me for many years. We are going to talk about some of the missing pieces in the discussion of people-pleasing and codependency. So I'm not going to get too in-depth into the definition of those terms. I think many people have probably heard them many times, but in my opinion, most people-pleasing is a desire to be liked and to essentially get along with everyone. And when it comes to codependency, there's a little bit of a darker, deeper root, which is generally linked to alcoholism or in another abusive situation that makes someone even more prone to people-pleasing type behavior. And to begin this discussion, I want to just stress that I'm often horrified and dismayed by what psychologists consider to be disordered behavior. There is this tendency in the world of clinical psychology to pathologize everything and to put people into little boxes. And what I mean by that is they will label a person's reaction to toxic conditions as a disorder, when in fact it is just a normal reaction to abusive and disempowering situations. I believe that disempowerment is at the heart of many of the most common concerns that are labeled as mental health disorders. So I just talked about this in our last chat. I'm going to link to that below, because narcissistic abuse is often related to clinical diagnoses. So things like anxiety, depression, digestive distress like irritable bowel syndrome and autoimmune conditions can actually be a normal biological reaction to a toxic environment. Your body's under a ton of stress and it reacts. It's normal, and yet we label it as disordered. So this is the problem. We are not looking at the environment as being the problem. We are looking at the person who is having the reaction, and we are blaming them and labeling them for basically having this distress. And it creates so much unwarranted shame for people who are just, again, having a normal, biologically wired reaction to societal norms. This is part of my concern with the narrative around people-pleasing. And what kind of triggered this video is that this weekend, Adam Grant, who is a organizational psychologist and very popular. He has a large social media following, and I am one of those avid fans. I've always liked his work, but he posted something this weekend that really sort of made me think he was doing some victim blaming, and that he was missing the mark essentially on people pleasing. So I will stress again, I generally love what he has to say. He has this succinct way of saying things and making bigger concepts very simple. But the way he described people-pleasing really just did not sound accurate to me at all. And I actually commented on his post, as did many others. I was actually very bolstered by the fact that there were quite a few other women who were commenting the very thing that I was saying, but also what I'm about to discuss, as being the missing elements of people-pleasing that are very common in society, and yet somehow psychology keeps overlooking them. First, I want to address the content of the post, which he had stated in 3 parts. So I'm going to talk about each of the parts. I'm going to actually type this out and put it in the description if you are someone who prefers to sort of digest things. So you can think about what I'm about to share. The first line was, the root of chronic people-pleasing is not concern for others. It's concern for their approval. Now, this immediately horrified me, because I know at my heart, and I know many other women like myself, friends of mine, who are also fall into the people-pleasing trap. And we are not solely looking for approval. We actually have a ton of concern for other people. We're very motivated to help and serve and love and care for other people. The idea of approval is just a side note. It's not the main entree. It's not our main focus. And for him to state this really horrified me, actually. It just feels like it's completely missing a huge chunk of what is actual normal compassionate behavior. The second piece he said was, caring drives kindness. The fear of being disliked fuels self-sacrifice. So this is, okay, yes, absolutely. Caring will drive kindness. But that second part, that we are only ever self-sacrificing because we are fearing being disliked, is like super strange to me, because every parent, I think, who is compassionate and concerned about their child is prone to self-sacrifice. That is kind of the built-in element of being a good parent, is to having a bit of self-sacrifice. Even just being a good friend, there's a little self-sacrifice, or a good partner, there's a bit of that. So the fear of being disliked as fueling that is definitely not the only reason. Many of us are okay with a little bit of self-sacrifice for the ones we love. It's part of normal, healthy interacting with other people. Final piece, he says, insecure people aim to be adored by all. Secure people focus on earning the respect of those who matter most. Now this felt like the description of a narcissist. An insecure narcissistic person, yes, they do tend to want to be adored by all. But most of us are like not looking for adoration. We're not looking for that at all. We're actually looking for comfort and safety and connection. Adoration would be lovely, but it happens so rarely that I do not think most of us are driven by that. And the idea that secure people are just focusing on earning the respect of the people who matter most is also really strange to me. I think that as people, we should be looking to have respect, a shared mutual respect with everyone, whether they matter the most to us or not. So the concept that we are suggesting that the healthiest behavior is to strip away everybody who doesn't matter to us and only give respect to those who do feels super narcissistic to me. It feels very strange. Now, granted, I'm about to tell you why that feels strange. I have a lot of societal programming, but that's not a piece I want to take away. I do not want to take away my desire to be respectful for everyone. And I would hate that we as a culture are shifting in that direction, and that either you are doing that or you're a people pleaser. That just absolutely doesn't make any sense to me. So my personal experience with people pleasing, and even what I label as codependency, comes from that of being a sensitive, empathic person. And I've shared before my experience as an empath. I'm going to link to that below if you didn't catch that, or you're not sure what that means to be an empath. But I do have a tendency to be a little bit more sensitive than the average person, because I'm feeling other people's energies, I'm feeling their emotions. So that by nature means that my drive to please is often a drive for my own sanity, for my own state of peace. Because if I'm feeling the energy of other people and they are very chaotic or angry or sad, I'm going to want to try to support them and help them to get to a more neutral or more positive emotional state for the sake of both of us, because both of us will actually benefit from that. So the other thing on just even a broader basis, if you are not an empath, and these are the things that other people were bringing up in response to Adam Grant's post, is one, we have a need for safety and security. People pleasing is also known as fawning. Now, for years, you would probably hear as the stress response, there were three options. There were fight, you stay and fight the tiger if that shows up. You flee, you run from the tiger that's trying to eat you. These are all obviously the ancient hardwired. Or you freeze, you become like a deer in headlights, and unfortunately, you're probably going to be eaten by the tiger. Not the most functional way to survive, but these are all biologically wired. Now, we are finding now in this modern day society that there's a fourth response known as fawn. The fawning response is essentially people pleasing. And this is where in a modern day situation, a stressful situation, your boss is really angry at you, your partner is frustrated, and what you are going to try to do is placate that other person or the situation and make everything happy, make that person happy, make everything okay. This is a normal, again, wiring situation. Biologically, you're just trying to feel safe and supported by those around you, and it is a natural response to stress. So the idea of being labeled as insecure under those circumstances is just because we've been made to feel insecure by those who have more power than us. So our teachers, our elders, our coaches, and even peers sometimes can bully us into submission, and we essentially just go along to get along. So a lot of people who are in that people-pleasing category are not doing it in any way to manipulate or to try to get adoration. We're doing it because we just want safety and security. The second piece of this is that most of us have been through societal programming to be good girls or good boys. And a lot of the people who are posting on Grant's post were also bringing up religious indoctrination. So people especially were saying that if they were raised Catholic, they were raised to be self-sacrificing. They were raised to always be good and kind and of service. If you are like me, Gen X or older, you were probably taught to be seen and not heard. We were supposed to just sort of sit there and look pretty. We were not supposed to be vocal or opinionated. That was not considered polite. So generally, in my experience, when I encounter people who have no desire to people please, who have no tendency toward that, I'm often stunned because it's generally the opposite direction of normal societal programming. And that tends to be someone who's narcissistic and does not care about anyone. So they're actually sort of disregarding the societal programming they've been through. That to me feels like more likely the tendency than the people who are people pleasers. And yet we're shaming the people pleasers who are actually doing what we were taught and told to do. Now, the third point in my experience, and the last point, this is hopefully going to be a little short shot this week, is that many of us just have a natural desire to be a good person. And some will call that a spirituality, that we just want to be connected. We want to do the right thing. We want to be good. We want to be kind. We want to be compassionate. That feels good. There's not a manipulation element there. We're literally just showing up, wanting everybody to feel safe and good and loved and connected in our presence. And to me, that feels like the best part of human nature is that when people show up and are like that for each other. And oddly, the world of psychology is almost looking at that now with a lens of shame and blame and like, you shouldn't do that. You're disordered if you live like that. And I just have been dying to share my perspective on this, that I think we many times go way too far with the way we see things. And in trying to maybe correct something that surely can be very harmful for people, when we get super fixated on people pleasing, we lose ourselves. We lose our authenticity. I completely get that as someone who considers myself to be in recovery from this condition. But I'm never going to not care what other people think. I'm never going to not care about other humans. That is a hardwired piece of me that makes me feel good and connected, and loving. And I hope that some of you watching this will relate and get it and agree, because that is what we need as a culture, probably more than anything. The last thing we need is to be shamed or bullied for our healthiest human behaviors. So if you liked this, please give it a thumbs up. Please let me know what you think. Comments really, really help me, because then it means that YouTube will show my videos to more people. Not to mention, I get to know you and I get to interact with you. I try to respond to every single comment, and I so appreciate you. So if you do like all of this, also please go ahead and subscribe and share with friends. I greatly appreciate that. And I appreciate your time. And as always, I wish you happiness and good health. And thanks for being with me again.